power, whether red or blue. I could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. They like our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone.
Wow. Good evening, everyone. Here I am. Surprise or not. Wow. Okay. I've got my coffee and we've got some time, and I know there's some other thing going on tonight that I couldn't possibly care less about. And so here we are. We're going to be sharing a cup of coffee or two or more, depending on whatever time allows. And it's time for our late night coffee talk. I want to thank you guys for everyone who's emailed saying, hey, Let's do it again this week. Thank you for that. And we've got a good bit, man. I've got a lot to talk about, but let me before we tear off into that, let me just catch everybody up that are brand new, right? That have no idea what in the world is happening here. I'm Daniel Miller, president of the Texas Nationalist movement, and this is the thing that we like to call late night coffee talk, where I go pour another cup of coffee, take a break from whatever work it is that I'm doing, fire up the camera and the microphone, and have a conversation with you. Right? I'll answer your questions if they're reasonable. Talk about what's been going on, what's kind of what's either nagging at me or what we've got going on. Just sort of a general, casual update on what's happening in the fight for Texas independence. And it's going to be a bit of a whopper tonight. A little bit of housekeeping. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we go live. If you're watching on Facebook, you can like and share. We sure would appreciate that. If you're watching on Twitter or X or whatever they are this week, congratulations. Do all the Twitter things or the X things, or that actually sounds really bad. But do all the things to help share and spread the word that this is something that we do. And, always want to hear from you. You can enter into the chat on YouTube. You can drop a question in the comments on the Facebook Live. And they still don't have a good integration with Twitter. So, you get what you get. However, if you would like to email your questions, many have done that got the email today, you can drop it via email to coffeetalk@thetnm.org. Now, you will have to forgive me because I will tell you, for those of you who do not know, we live down here in Southeast Texas. And while it is super hot everywhere, including here, there is a little added element down here, which are the marshes, which are super dry and apparently have been burning for days. So the air is full of smoke. It just smells like burning grass 24 hours a day. So, at least no one's house is on fire or anything crazy like that, but it is for guys like me that get the allergies and the sinus, things like this can be problematic. So you'll have to bear with me as I kind of fight through this, but I'm here. Said that I was going to do it, and I'm going to do it. And look, it's not like it's going to go away, right? I mean, just because it's affecting me, it doesn't matter. This right here, what we're doing right here, still has to get done. That's the spirit of it. So a lot to talk about tonight. Thank you all. I'm seeing some of the comments there, and I appreciate you guys. I appreciate some of the comments that I'm already seeing. We'll get to those here in a bit. I do want to do this one thing though, because no one needs to see this. You know who I am, and I'm talking about this thing right here. Doing some testing. Just forgive me. All right. Yeah. Got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about TEXITCON, the Texit conference that's coming in November. Got a big rollout on that thing at the beginning of the week, and lots of questions. So talk about that a little bit. Also, I'm sure some of you were quite perplexed by the word California in the title of this live stream. Well, it has something to do with the Facebook lawsuit, because we have news, and man, oh man, does it ever prove the need for Texas to become a self-governing independent nation. And it proves that we've got legislators here in Austin that are crumbs. I'll leave it at that till I get there. And then, of course, we are just hours away from the anniversary of when I crossed the proverbial line in the sand 27 years ago. And I'm feeling a bit nostalgic. So I will tell you tonight, any question you want to ask me about the old days will jump to the top of the list. Be thoughtful, but it will jump to the top of the list. And I feel like it's something that I don't talk about. I mean, I mentioned the date, but I never really talk about that, and really that's a disservice to y'all, uh, because you don't understand how hard it was in those early days. Um, so tonight is your night. Be respectful, ask some thoughtful questions, and I will spill it. And tonight may be your only opportunity. Who knows if I will talk about those things ever again? Sometimes, I mean, ask the Brunigs. David, when we were doing the Freedom Fest thing in Memphis, David made a point while we were up at this little area on the rooftop of the hotel to ask about the old days. And boy, did he open a can of worms, right? Hmm. All right. Let's get rocking. So let's talk about Texicon, right? So we made the big announcement on Monday. We dropped the news via an article on the website, which went out via email to everyone on the email list. And of course, what does that even mean at this point when you've got email service providers spiking our emails into spam folders, right? But we did it, and word is getting out. You guys are helping us spread the word about TexitCon. For those of you who do not know what it is, many years ago, we would hold a single day event called Texicon, right? It was the Texas Independence Conference. And we would bring in, anywhere from 8 to 10 or 12 speakers. And it would run the gamut, right? All across the spectrum of political independence, cultural independence, economic independence, every aspect we tried to touch on, and there were some memorable ones, right? We did one Texicon at the Crockett Hotel back when they had a meeting room right there next door to the Alamo. We did one at Washington on the Brazos, in their meeting facility there. So, we've always had a desire to want to talk about Texas independence around these touchstones of independence, of our previous independence. And so, we haven't done one in a while, right? We were on track to do our spring retreat, the Runaway Scrape, right when the COVID lockdowns hit, and it was going to be a phenomenal event over there in College Station. But things happen, and so it's been a while since we've done one. Well, many of you have been asking for it, and asking for it for quite some time. And so the trigger has been pulled. You are about to get Texicon, but much, much, much bigger, a lot bigger than you probably could have ever imagined. So it's been rebranded to TexitCon, right? So we've got Texit, which makes it a lot easier for everyone. But it's going to be in Waco at the Waco Convention Center, November 9th through the 12th, right? So we've got really 4 solid days. Uh, 4 solid days. We're looking at upwards of over 50 speakers and presenters, well over 50 sessions, right? And that includes solo speakers, that includes panels. It's just going to be amazing, the kind of things that are going on. We've announced some, but we have not announced all. We haven't announced all of our speakers yet. We haven't announced all of our sessions yet, because some of these are going to be biggies, and we want you to get, sort of build that excitement, build that experience. But I mean, think about this, between 50 and 60 speakers, between 50 and 60 sessions. We're going to have an expo hall that is going to hold about 50 to 60 exhibitors that are going to be there. You're going to have speakers that run the gamut, talking about political independence, cultural independence, economic independence, and something that we've never done before is we're adding an activism track, right? So for those of you that want to get a lot more hands-on, you're like, hey, I get it. I get the political stuff. I get cultural. I get the economic. I'm all wrapped up in that. I'm all good. My independence tank is topped off. Well, the activism track is there for those of you that are action oriented, that say, look, I've got enough knowledge. I want to get out there and I want to learn how to be more effective in my advocacy. And that activism track is going to deal with, legislative action. It's going to deal with social media. It's going to deal with sort of interacting in the public. I mean, we've got a ton of sessions along that activism track, and there's a lot of information that's going to be at this thing. It will be, by the time it's all said and done, the largest independence conference / convention ever held in North America. I believe that we're going to far surpass what was probably some of the larger party conferences from the Parti Québécois in Quebec. Definitely bigger than any of the ones that had been held up in sort of the Northeast or anything else. It's going to be a monster, and we want you there. We want you to be a part of this. And look, I would say that the rationale for having you there is sort of maybe emotional, altruistic, whatever you want to call it. But I have a selfish reason for wanting you there. Number one, I want to see you, right? But number two is the mainstream media and the permanent political class have constantly said that you don't exist, that there's not enough support for Texit. And so what I want to do is I want to have a massive conference. I want to have all of these speakers, all of these experts. I want to have all of these attendees all gathered around exploring the idea of self-determination and independence. I want to blow the doors off the place. And I want to be able to just shove it down their throat, right? I want to just shove it down their throat because I'm sick and tired. Even you got the poll numbers and you got the registered supporters and you got all these things, and they still say this crap. And I just want to just shove it down their throat. I want it to be like when your dog pees on the carpet and you rub their nose in it. That's what I want to do. Some of you are going to be thinking, man, this guy's lost his mind. He's, he talks to, I'm a competitor. I want to win. I'm here on the 27th anniversary of me crossing the line in the sand. I would like to get this done sooner rather than later. And so it makes me a bit of a competitor, and it makes me a little bit prickly, and it makes me a little bit hard. And, I have zero sympathy for the opposition. Zero. They have set themselves against us on the most critical issue of our time, and I have no sympathy. There are people over there. Look, I get it. You got to sometimes meet people where they are, and you got to help educate them, and you got to bring them along. But those aren't opposers. Those are undecideds. Those are people that maybe vocalize that, well, I'm not for it because I don't know enough about it. Right? That's a different category. But those that are opposed to us, that take actions more than just flapping their gums to impede the independence of Texas, I have zero sympathy for them. Zero. That they are on the other team, wearing the other color jersey. And I don't have soft words for them. They say you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Well, I'm not looking to catch flies. I'm looking to win independence, and I'm looking at swatting flies down. None of us have time to counter that. So TEXITCON, I digress, TEXITCON is going to be an opportunity, a visible signal. And I kid you not, somebody sent in an email after we announced, it's like, well, aren't you afraid that the feds are going to do what the feds are going to do with all those independence people there? Well, number one, every independent supporter in the world, Texas independent supporter, is not going to be at TEXITCON. There's not enough room, right? When you're at 60% support from Texas voters and 66% for likely voters, they won't fit in the Waco Convention Center. And let's be honest, if we had more mass gatherings and we didn't have people being all weird and freaked out, oh, I'm going to be watched, or, whatever kind of nonsense that is, then if we had more mass gatherings and mass demonstrations, then we would already have our independence. If our people acted in concert, we would have independence. So here's your chance, right? It's kind of a put up or shut up. We're bringing in the experts. We're bringing in massive numbers of experts. We're bringing together Texit supporters from all over, and not just Texit supporters, people that are have I guess information or knowledge that can help inform this discussion and this debate. Not just looking at how to get there, but what happens when we do get there, and what does that look like for Texas? All these things that everybody is always asking about. All this, guess what? You're going to get to hear from a lot of different people with a lot of different perspectives on what post-independent Texas could look like. So for those of you that sent me the question, the first two questions I got in for Coffee Talk tonight are, what are we going to do about currency? I kid you not, right? Even though we've covered it over and over and over. And then, of course, I got the obligatory one question from somebody asking the same question that I actually covered last week. And I got to thinking, if you want to understand why, you want the answer to your question, look at the fact that I've covered currency more times than I can count, and people still ask about it right out of the gate. People think it's super easy to communicate with our people. So again, we rely on you. TEXITCON is going to be a big deal, and I think you're going to have an opportunity that you've never had before. I'm excited. I mean, we literally recorded the podcast today about TEXITCON. We're talking about it here tonight. We're going to be talking about it a lot. And if you think about where it is in our timetable, right? We've got this petition campaign that's happening. The turn in, our cutoff, our drop dead is December 1. This is happening like not quite a full month before the cutoff. So who knows? Maybe we're going to be making some big announcements at TEXITCON. I'll never tell. So here's what you need to do. If you have not already gotten your tickets for TEXITCON, head over to TEXITconference.com. That's TEXITconference.com, and be sure to get your tickets, get registered. By the way, I said it today during the taping. I bought the first ticket. I got numero uno. So everybody else, what do they say? Leaders lead, and we need more leaders than we need cheerleaders, right? Leaders lead. So that's what happened. I bought the first ticket. Now it's your turn. Okay, so I wish I could just go over. I could really just spend this whole time pumping up TEXITCON, but I'm not going to do that to you. And so let's get down to the Facebook lawsuit. Well, apparently there was a ruling from federal judge, Trump-appointed Republican federal judge Michael Troncalli, on the Facebook suit. And boy, it just came in as a sneak attack. I mean, it just like literally, I mean, we knew to be expecting it, but some things had not transpired yet that we had thought that, some Supreme Court rulings that we thought were going to be done before Troncalli ruled. Well, nope. We come right out of the gate, and Michael Troncalli, Judge Troncalli's message to us, California, here we come. Yes, the T&M sued Meta, the parent company of Facebook, under a Texas law. We filed suit in a Texas court in a Texas law, and a federal judge says, nope, now you have to go to San Francisco and plead your case to a jury of San Francisco Californians about why Facebook should be held accountable under a Texas law. Go figure. Right? I mean, how crazy is that? Now, let's not pretend like we didn't say that this was a possibility. We knew it right out of the gate. We knew that a federal judge had the possibility of shooting this thing off to California. And you know what? Here's the deal. I don't blame Troncalli. I don't blame him. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that the federals decided that this needed to be, that Texans needed to seek justice in a court in San Francisco under a Texas law, right? But I'm going to tell you who I'm the most upset at. I'm upset at State Representative Briscoe Cain, and I'm upset at State Senator Brian Hughes. Because had it not been for the intentional loophole that they left, not this past session, but the session before. If they had not left that loophole, we would be adjudicating this in Texas. This was a conscious decision on their part to pluck out the protection for Texans under this law. Now, granted, we lobbied hard and it got across the finish line in this legislative session, the fix for the loophole. But understand this, it's not like, oops, we forgot it. It was in the original language. And Hughes wanted it plucked out. And Hughes talked to Briscoe Kane about it, and Briscoe said, sure, why not? So who's to blame? Is it Troncalli or is it our legislators? Well, I have some decidedly strong thoughts about that, as you might imagine. But nonetheless, we go fight, right? We're going to go fight this thing out. We filed this case to bring accountability to Meta under this Texas law because they censored you. They censored you posting links to the Texit section of our website. We did this for you and for the movement so that we could go out and inform people. Subsequently, they removed the ban, they removed the block, and we're grateful for that, but we all need to make hay while the sun shines. Because at the end of the day, they may just arbitrarily decide to slap the thing back on. So, it's not bad news, it's just news. And sometimes you got to track the bear back down to its cave and go in its own cave to slay the bear. And that may be what's happening here. We may be going into California, into San Francisco, in a federal court to romp and stomp and bring Meta to account. I mean, let's be honest. It's not exactly like Meta's super popular with anyone at this point. People still use it. But when it comes to this sort of thing, who knows? Maybe the Californians will look at it and go, hey, wait a minute. We want Texas gone. In San Francisco, maybe they would be super happy. But I feel pretty comfortable with the fact that this ain't over, that our day has yet to come on the legal battleground. So many of you have been asking for a Facebook update. There it is. I would remind you, if you want to help us out with these, with our legal defense, our legal offense, pretty much anything related to these fights that we're having in the courts, I would encourage you to head over to defendtexit.com. We post all the latest lawsuit news over there, everything that we're doing related to the courts and things of that nature. And we'd ask for you, if you have an opportunity, drop 5, 10, 50, 100, whatever you can, into the coffers over there. That's what helps keep us in the fight in those courtrooms. So, I'll let you know as more transpires. We'll definitely get down to brass tacks. We'll let you know what's happening. I mean, we've kept you abreast of all this as it's happened. So, all right, here's what I'm going to do before I get off into last little bit of some news and tidbits and start talking about that 27th anniversary. Let me see if we've got any questions here that we need to knock out. I am not seeing any right out of the gate. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it's far more interesting to me than you. It works. All right, then. Well, look, here's the bottom line. I have, it's odd every year as we approach August 24th. And for those of you who do not know, those of you who do know, put your fingers in your ears. You're not going to want to hear this one more time. But for those who do not know, it was August 24th, 1996, sometime around 2 p.m. In a Sheraton hotel in Tyler, Texas, that I made the personal decision to pursue Texas independence, to go out there and fight for independence, or as I say oftentimes, to work to see it happen or until the gravedigger pats me in the face with a shovel, whichever comes first, right? So, it is one of those things. It's been costly. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It has come at a tremendous personal cost on so many levels, but it's also quite rewarding and fulfilling. And I would say that it is definitely not how I saw my life going. And honestly, there are things that I would like to do that are not this. But you see, here's the difference. I made a promise. You hear people talk about all the time. Well, I swore an oath to do X. Well, it's the same thing for me. Your word is your bond. I said that this is what I would do, and I'm going to see it through all the way to the end, whatever that end may be. Whether it is the end, the win, we cross the goal, or it's my end. But whichever it is, I will be here until that time, and I will continue to work in whatever capacity is required of me. There are I can't think of anything that I've been asked to do that I knew was in support of this that I haven't done. I can tell you, I started out rank and file. I mean, I was one individual. There was not some magic wand or some ceremony that anointed me. I mean, I just started out. Some of you may have in leadership may have heard me tell this story. It wasn't too long after my line in the sand day that there was going to be a meeting of independent supporters at a Hot Biscuit. I don't know how many of you guys remember Hot Biscuit restaurants, right? But they had a big meeting room there in Longview, and I didn't call it. I don't honestly don't even know who did. Well, I mean, I can't remember his name, but he called the meeting, and so show up there, man, and the parking lot is overflowing. People are just pouring out of this meeting room, and the news had even covered it. They'd gone and they'd interviewed this guy who was organizing. Man, I was so excited, and I get there and I'm standing out there just shooting the breeze with the old guys because it's what I do. And somebody came out and said, "Hey, does anyone here know how to run a meeting?" Now, I'm standing out front talking to these guys in a circle, and that meeting room was packed. I mean, it was SRO, standing room only. Well, come to find out, the guy who organized it, I guess he was good at organizing things or, jumping on a surfboard when it was on top of the wave already. But he got called into his office, into the boss's office where he worked out there at Laterno Industries. I don't think it's Laterno anymore, but it was Laterno Industries at the time. And the boss to him said, "We saw you on TV. You either get away from what you're doing or you're fired." And so he chose his job and left a room full of people with leaderless. And so, look, do the math. I was born in 73. This was 96. So do the math. And everybody's looking at each other like a clock half struck. And I just raised my hand, said, I've done it before. I mean, I'll give it a shot. And that was it. Right. I mean, it was that was sort of the matter of it. I didn't organize the meeting. All I did was call the meeting to order and jot down some notes to run through. There was already a guest speaker. I mean, it kind of did itself. But I mean, I wouldn't say I was terrified. I mean, I'd, done stuff like that before, but on a very small scale. But, sometimes it just takes being that person to jam your hand in the air and say, "Look, I'll do it." But then actually doing it, right? There are some folks out there that have this idea, this mentality that they're, well, look, I'll fill in until somebody else better comes along. And by filling in, what that means is, well, I'll hold the title and I'll keep the seat warm, but therein my involvement, that's where my engagement ends, right? And independence is not won that way, right? I mean, it nothing is. that's not your word is your bond. I mean, if you volunteered to be the refreshments coordinator for Bible study and provide the donuts and the coffee, and the first time people showed up for Bible study and you didn't have donuts and coffee, be like, well, I'll just hold it. I can't believe you want me to do something. I mean, that'd be ridiculous, right? But that's where it's, but that's how it started for me. I mean, it was literally no time at all after that decision was made that incident happened, and it's been that for me solidly ever since. I mean, ever since. Not anywhere that I particularly wanted to be, but that's not. I think the phrase or the colloquialism is that man plans and God laughs, right? So it's the way it goes. Let's see what we got over here. You know what? Maybe we've got something. Oh, let me remind you guys. You can email your questions over to coffeetalk@thetnm.org. I am looking right now to see what we got, because here's the deal, guys. I can go put my coffee down. Well, put my coffee down. I mean, it's not putting my coffee down. I can go refill my coffee and then get back to work. Oh, okay. So here we go. So let's just contrast the spirit, right? You heard what I said. Here's an email we got. Poor choice of timing. Talking about coffee talk tonight at 9:00. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that independence is happening past your bedtime. That makes me sad. Oh, or here's this one. Okay, now this one. When you stop using YouTube, I'll check back in. Well, this is a funny one for you. Back when when I first got started, we didn't have YouTube. We sent meeting notifications via fax, if that tells you anything. I mean, I can remember in early 1997, I had a technology tool that blew everybody's mind, and it was the ability to record a message and broadcast that message to a certain list of people, and it blew their minds. Oh my God, the technology. Right? I mean, it's just, that was the weird thing about it. We didn't have anything. We had paper, and we had, we sort of had cell phones, maybe not really good ones. I don't even think we had the ones you could play Snake. Those came later, when things got super fancy, but we had dial up. I mean, now you want to talk about, all this stuff, people. Well, why don't we have this tool or that tool or whatever? We got more tools than we need for the job. We got more tools than we need to get the job done. I mean, that is the reality of the situation. We got more tools than we need. I mean, you look at all these countries. I want you to think about this. Since World War II, about 140 self-governing independent nation states popped up around the globe. They got their independence, right? They didn't have a fraction of the crap that we had, but they got their independence. So that's, when I hear people complain about, well, if you get off of YouTube, well, when you get off of your high horse and realize that if the job of getting independence required you to pick up a pile of dog poo and you refuse to do it, and that was the thing between us and independent. I mean, come on, man. I mean, really? I mean, seriously. That is going to be your impediment to actually participating in this fight for Texas independence. Well, Houston's army, the Texian army, 60% attrition rate from the start of the revolution to the victory at San Jacinto. I always thought that was crazy. I always thought it was a crazy statistic until I saw it in action. And I saw people come up with every excuse in the world why they can't help, why they can't get the job done. Now look, we will carry the day with the number that we have, and our numbers will explode. Our numbers will just blow clean up. I mean, we'll cross that threshold of 500,000, and then it'll be a short distance till we cross the 1 million threshold of registered supporters. And when Texas goes on a ballot, we're not going to win by a little, we're going to win by a lot. Right? I have no fear about that. But what I think is the thing, particularly on today, right? Particularly today, because you know, it's almost the 24th, right? Um, is I think that a price has been paid for so long, and with no quit, right? The hits keep coming. Sure, you get frustrated. I get it. But I'm just amazed at the way some people behave. They behave like Texicans instead of Texicans. They act like they don't want to win. They act like the status quo is okay. And I'll tell you, I had a conversation with somebody the other night at that event we went to where Christina Drury received that award. And I had a conversation with somebody, and they were talking about how the Texas supporters give them grief on social media. And I said, well, you're viewed as opposed to what we do. And he says, well, it's not that I'm opposed. It's just that I have a lot of questions. And I think that I said, but you don't understand. To our people, that looks like opposition because the status quo as it stands right now, unchecked, unabated, without independence, represents an existential threat to us, the current generation, and future generations. It's an existential threat. If we stay on this path, there will not be a Texas. There will not be freedom. Our children and their children and their children will. I mean, it's an existential threat. I don't need to explain it to y'all. It's an existential threat. And so, therefore, any impediment to us getting to our goal gets viewed as opposition. And you know what? Some people get their feelings hurt. Tough. I can't help it if you get on Twitter and you call somebody a snowflake on the left and then you start acting snowflakey, right? That's just the way that it is. I mean, it's tough talk. But now is the time for tough talk. Now is the time for tough talk. It is time to hold people to account. Are you going to do what you say you will do? Do you believe what you say you believe? How much are you willing to sacrifice before you surrender to the opposition? For me, mine was my life. August 24th, 1996, I didn't realize it, but at that very moment, I signed away whatever my future was going to be, whatever it was. It went away. That existence disappeared with one decision, but that's okay. Don't mistake me. This is not a complaint. It's just a realization, right? It is telling you the reality of it. And the reality of it is that for all of us to be saved, some of us have to give up everything. It's the way that it is. And I have people, I hear people all the time, I would die for my country. Well, live for it. The defenders of the Alamo didn't go in there and go, I will die for the Alamo. They said in their minds and their hearts and their spirits, I'm going to live this way. I am going to live to support independence up till the point that I die. And so at that moment, they gave their lives over to that cause, and it cost them their lives. And that's okay. That's what they signed on for. But it's important to go into these things eyes wide open and to think about these things and to understand that independence is never going to be given to you. If you do nothing, if you sacrifice nothing, if to you a nickel looks like a manhole cover, right? If the least smallest little slight or affront or frustration knocks you off the rails, guess what? You've capitulated, you've surrendered, you've given in. And I don't want to hear this crap. Well, I don't need to work in the T&M to go work for independence. That is a bunch of bull crap. You know it, and I know it. I have heard that from people before who got their undies in a bundle about something, decide to head down the old Moses Rose Highway, right? And then they go, well, I've been working for independence in my own way. Cool. Tell me what you've done. What have you done? How many voters have you signed up? How many voters have you signed up? Right? How much legislation have you helped get across the finish line? How much farther have you moved us toward the ultimate goal of getting and winning a referendum on Texas independence? Because if your answer to those is not really at all, then you've done nothing but sit over there and rub your mad spot. This is why you guys can't take me anywhere. They should never put a microphone in my hand. It's going to be a lot of fun, folks. I will tell you, there's some people out there, I see questions like, why, with all the supporters, why haven't we, why do we have all this trouble getting the petition across the finish line? I look back and I say, go read the article we posted last week or go watch the live stream we did last week. It's not just about, and if you want a lesson, a distillation of kind of the longevity, because I get that question a lot. How in the world have you done this for so long? Especially since, I don't make money on this. I don't get paid to do this. I pay to do this. I told you, my ticket was the first ticket that was bought for TEXITCON, right? I bought copies of my own book to give to people, right? Didn't even take them out of author. I bought. I maintain memberships, paid memberships in the organization. I'm a regular donor to the TNM PAC. I have a regular donation going on, and I have a job outside of this. Karen and I own a business that we run that helps do this. Half of my house is taken up by the TNM so that the organization doesn't have to pay for a server farm and a main office, right? I mean, this is what it takes. And so people have asked, often like, how in the world have you been able to stick it out this long? It's like, well, first off, you don't know the half of it. You don't know the days when it was bad. You don't know the days when it wasn't just some nebulous idea that, you were maybe a domestic terrorist, some blanket term. Well, could be a domestic terrorist if they fly the Gonzales flag. No, how about literally having your name listed in the terrorism knowledge base, right? Or being as nervous as a chihuahua crapping a peach pit every time a DPS trooper pulled up behind your vehicle and ran your plate, not knowing if they were going to think that maybe today was the day that they were going to rub out, whatever. I mean, you guys don't know bad. We know bad because going through and conquering that bad was necessary to be able to get you a place to come to where you would feel viable, right? Because in those times they were very dark. I mean, it was very difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel and not think it was a train. But all of that, I wouldn't give it up. Maybe the only thing different is I would hope that, some of the others, like guys that you probably don't even know, Lauren Savage and Charlie Dork. I wish they were here. I recognize them in the introduction or the dedication of both of my books because they're not here anymore. And we've got others that we've lost along the way, Don Tier and Dave Mundy and other folks that, that if there was anything I could do differently, if I had the absolute power over life and death, I would make it so where they could draw one or more breaths in a free and independent Texas because they poured so much into it. But you guys don't know the dark days, and that's okay. We went through what we went through in those days so that you would not have to know the dark days. When I tell you that the polling showed when we founded the TNM in 2005, when the polling showed that there was only single digits of support, that was not an exaggeration. And it wasn't that the support wasn't out there. It was that people were so afraid to vocalize it that they wouldn't even tell an anonymous pollster. So, or anonymously tell a pollster. So it was dark. dark days. But it was those dark days that got us to where we are, where there is light at the end of the tunnel. And that light at the end of the tunnel is our independence. I mean, folks, 27 years seems like a long time. And I guess it is if you think of it as doing something, but it's not that I'm doing something. It's that I'm being something. You know, Texas nationalism isn't what you do, it's who you are. And so for me to say that, well, I've done this independence thing for 27 years, it would not be right. What I have been is for 27 years, I have lived as best I can as a Texas nationalist, as someone who wants to see Texas become a self-governing independent nation, to return the power of self-government back to the people of Texas and then return back to my regularly scheduled life. Now, I know that's not possible, but a boy can dream, right? I want you to win, and I want you to have control of your destiny, and I want you to be able to call the shots. I want you to write your future. That's what this is all about. Knowing that I am closer to my last sandwich than I am my first. I want to be able to have it there for the children and grandchildren, for you, for your children and grandchildren, for future generations, to make a lasting impact. To have Texas shine as a beacon for the rest of the world, because let's be honest, this is Houston's equivalent of burning the ferries at San Jacinto. It is on death's ground. We conquer or we perish. There is no in between. So I'm not one to curl up in a ball and suck my thumb or get knocked off track by some namby-pamby, slide or whatever it is. I'm a bit of a tough butt. But if you had seen things that we had seen, you would understand. You would understand why I'm a tough butt, because I'm here to win independence. I'm here to liberate our nation state. I am not here for a coffee klatch. This is not your softball booster club. This is for all the marbles. Our lives, our futures are at stake. And I will always treat it as such, and I would hope that you would do so as well. At least if you're anywhere near me, because I honestly don't have time for hobbyists. I don't. I mean, you want to see me irate, be a hobbyist, be a quitter, be a thumb sucker. This is independence is a tough game. Dr. Quartrup said in his book, politics around independence, it's a bare knuckle sport. Don't come to me and talk about how tough you are. And then, well, I didn't like the tone of your email. Oh my God, you're having a live stream at 9:00. That's after my bedtime. Nobody wants to hear it. Suck it up, Buttercup. Let's go win. Let's go get the job done. I'm going to tell you right now, if I got an email, if I get off of here and there's a calendar invitation for an important T&M meeting at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., I'm going to go and I'm going to make sure there's enough coffee in there, and I'm going to be up for it. Because if it's that important, to me, then I'm going to be there. Right? So, whatever. I don't know. I digress. Whoo, guys. Wow. 27 years, huh? All right. Let me get to any questions. What do we got over here? Man, I don't know. You guys don't want to know about the old days. That's fine. I'll keep that stuff to myself. Maybe I'll just put it in a book and then you'll have to buy it when you could have got it for free. Okay, let's see what we got here. Good questions. Nope, not gonna answer the currency question. Thank you though. Okay, here's a question from via email from Tyler. It's been a while, but my name is Tyler. My campaign for the House in Texas State House District 3 has been picking up more and more steam. Can I still apply for the endorsement? Okay. So this is for Tyler and any other candidates this cycle. If you want to have anything to do with the TNM PAC, you need to go to taketexasback.com right? TakeTexasBack.com. Do not, if you are already a candidate, then you go fill out the pledge. If you are interested in potentially becoming a candidate, you fill out the candidate interest form, right? But do that. We've already got candidates that are signing the pledge. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, this is from Lumi. With BRICS growing along with the threat to the dollar, if Texas chooses to do the S word and does so, would we be open to joining them? Being just a layman, but seeing the reports and the writing on the wall, I guess what I'm asking is, are we looking at alternatives to the dollar? Oh my God, it's a currency question. Aside from the gold-backed crypto, I understand Texas is working on. Thanks from KD, Texas. P.S. Any thoughts on adding toddler sizes for T-shirts or hats, etc., over on the T&M store? I can look at that, but are we talking about toddler sizes for actual toddlers or for adults that behave like toddlers? Because there is a difference. We have sizes for people like that. That's a joke. We'll take a look at it. I'm sure they'll take a look at it in the store. Look, here's the issue with currency. I mean, obviously, with this being the question, which was a kind of a sneaky currency question, by the way. One of the sessions at TEXITCON is going to deal specifically with the currency question, and we've got some announcements that are coming pretty doggone soon from the T&M about some potential currency related things, but I can't say any more than that. But our take on this has always been that Texas will want its own currency. We don't have to have one day one, but making sure that we can shorten the gap between where we are and where we need to be for currency, that's always a good thing. Okay, here we go. Deplorable Designer. Okay, that is an interesting email name. Any thoughts on reports that Governor Abbott has sold Texas out completely to China and the Mexican cartels? Look, I have a lot of thoughts about Greg Abbott. I don't know that I've seen any conclusive proof about that, but here's the bottom line. It's like I told, KTRH called yesterday evening wanting a comment about this federal lawsuit against Greg Abbott over the border buoys. And we may laugh and chuckle about that. The fact of the matter is that even as sort of weak as that has been, it has been effective enough to flush out Mexico and the federal government to have them both sue the state of Texas in court. And it's flushed them out essentially on the side of the cartels. I mean, because the cartels are the ones making the money off the human trafficking and everything else. Who do you think is getting paid? So from that standpoint, I'm not going to give Greg Abbott suddenly an A+ on the border. Everybody is kind of like it's either they're either an F, they failed, or they get an A+. I'm not that way. I'll give him a strong D- at this point, right? We declared an invasion, but effectively did nothing to combat it. They stacked up some box cars, whoop-de-doo. Operation Lone Star is still going on, and I mean it's doing some things, but let's be honest, it's too little, right? We've got a legislature, particularly the Texas House, that essentially torpedoed a very strong piece of legislation that would secure the border, and so much of that is wrapped up in the fact that these state politicians don't want to cross the federal government. Well, congratulations, your border buoy did it. So whether that was your intention or not, who knows? But it's here, and I'm here for it. I'm grateful. I'm glad it's getting flushed out so everyone can see who's on what side. And I'm going to tell you, if the state of Texas folds on this lawsuit, all they are going to do is empower Texas supporters to go to the polls in March 2024 when the Texas question winds up on the ballot after you get this petition across the finish line, and they're going to vote for pro-Texas candidates up one side of the ballot and down the other, and we're going to send these Texans in name only packing. We're going to give them an early retirement, and I hope they get kicked out of office so much, so before they get vested in the state's pension system. I want these guys that have put Texas last, who have sacrificed Texas for their political careers. I want those jokers on food stamps. I want them at the soup kitchen. I hope their businesses fail. I want them gone. Because the people of Texas are paying the price for them turning our capital into a frat house. And frankly, I think we're all tired of it, aren't we? Aren't we? Aren't we tired of it? I know I am. I'm tired of having to go out there and advocate for an independent Texas and look at and then have people point out this dysfunctional clown show in the Pink Dome in Moscow in the Colorado and say, you guys can't even govern yourselves. Well, watch this, boys and girls. We're going to govern ourselves. We're going to mount up as many Texans as we possibly can, and we're going to throw them up against those guys, and we're going to run them out of office. And whether it's this cycle or next cycle, whenever it is, when the day comes to implement the will of the voters for Texas, I guarantee you there will not be a Texan opposer left in any position of significant power whatsoever. It won't happen. The 8.6 to 9.2 million Texas voters that will come out in favor of Texas will sweep them away like flushing a great big gold-plated toilet and send them on their merry way, never to be seen again. I love that. I'm getting lectured over here in the chat. Let's not wish economic hardship on people. Why should I care about economic hardship for legislators that are perfectly fine to crush us under excessive property taxes that are putting Texas more and more to, I mean, they accumulated such a surplus, and instead of giving taxpayers in Texas a break when we're having to deal with Bidenomics inflation, instead of giving us a break, what did they do? They went and spent. I mean, I can't even. I mean, I can't even. Yeah. So you know what? They're not feeling any economic hardship like the rest of us are. So you know what? I am going to wish them. I want them to feel the pain that Texans are feeling, because we're having to spend $12 billion on the federal border debacle, and we're having to overpay $103 to $160 billion annually into a federal dumpster fire that we will never see again. And these guys are treating the Capitol like a frat house. While Texas families are having a hard time putting gas in their vehicles and putting food on their tables, and we've got businesses shuttering left and right, regardless of the great economic outcomes that we keep hearing about, this stuff is real. These are real lives we're dealing with. So I'm sorry, Mr. Whoever you are in the chat, that feels like we shouldn't wish economic hardship on people. That's exactly what I don't want people here to experience economic hardship. And the only way that we will avoid that is, number one, Texas, and number two, flush that toilet that is the Capitol in Austin. Because let me tell you something, they don't care about your economic hardship. They sure as hell don't care about mine. They don't care about any of you. If this last session of the legislature did not prove that to you, then you are not paying attention. So you know what? I do wish them economic hardship so they could have a taste of what it's like for the vast majority of Texans. Ooh, maybe you picked the wrong night. I don't know. Oh, I know. It's time to wrap up. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Somebody's going to want to see this, because that's what this. Whoa. All right. Hey, real quick, a couple of things, because I got to wrap this up. Thank you all for being here with me. I appreciate this. This is like old school coffee talk. I mean, we're just having a conversation. But I want to thank you guys for participating tonight. Just a little bit of a teaser, by the way. Well, let me just let this do the talk. That's right, folks. It's coming Monday night. For those of you that are volunteers or certified petition circulators, you probably are already aware of the CPC accelerator that happens every other Monday night. Well, guess what? New format and a new time. I mean, it's the same time, but every week it's now the Texas Accelerator. You just retreated to the brand new intro. And people, before you send me a message, you're going to look at it and go, Mondays at 8 p.m. Well, how do I find out where can I watch this? Well, let me tell you something. If you go do that right there and head over to tnm.me/volunteer, you will become a volunteer and you will be notified when you will be notified where you can participate in these. These are not going to be publicly accessible. It's not going to be on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. It is exclusively for volunteers and activists in the TNM. So head over to tnm.me/volunteer, or, alternatively, you could go over there to the petition section on the website and sign up to become a CPC. Head over to texitpetition.com and sign up to be a certified petition circulator. That will also get you on the list so you can find out. Okay, friends, that's it. That's a wrap. I've got a lot to get done. And unfortunately, there's just not enough hours in the day, right? So, look, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Again, being off the road is very helpful and conducive to making these things happen. Been on tight deadlines as of lately, so didn't get to do one, I think, last week. But, let's see how next week unfolds. But I'm looking forward to doing it again. Until then, I want to thank you for fighting so hard, for being here with us to go fight this fight for Texas independence. And I'm going to leave you with the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now. And the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.